friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own projects, and I'm so grateful you're here with me today. So today I'm going to be showing you updates on my Sew Scrappy Spools quilt along as well as my Calico Garden quilt along, and then I have lots of customer finishes to show you, and even some that aren't hanging on the ladder. So let's get into it. So how about my Sew Scrappy Spools quilt along? This is through the Fat Quarter Shop. I keep mine in a white binder. You can buy this through the Fat Quarter Shop either as a PDF or as a paper pattern. I did mine as a PDF, and that's why it's in this binder here. So I have just finished the May blocks. So I know it's June, but I'm done with May. I'm happy. I'm done with May. So let me show you some of the blocks that I've worked on in the past. These are all ones that have been finished. I'm not going to get these in the right order. Well, here, let me try. So the first month we did, so back in January, we did the 4-patch, and we did 4 of those. And there is one of mine. So each month when I work on these, the blocks that I do in that month all have the same brown print for the spool part of them. So it's easy to tell which months went together. Here's another 4-patch, and another 4-patch, and another 4-patch. And then we also did a second block in January, and that was the cabin block. So it still has the same brown print as I did on the 4 square, and just very simple block. You're saying, you know, you've done log cabins before, I'm sure. You'll notice a lot of the same fabrics over and over in mine because I'm using from a scrappy bin, and I'll just show you that in just a second. Here is another log cabin, another log cabin, and the last log cabin. So those were all done in January. For February, we did the checkers block. I'm just checking my schedule here. We did the checkers block, and here is one of those. Did an orange and a red, a blue, and a gray and black. And here is the brown print that I used for that month. Then we also did a dash block. And here is 1 and 2, 3. Kind of fussy cut that little flower in the middle there. And 4. And those were all the blocks for February. In March, we worked on the flag blocks, and these are so cute. I could do a whole quilt with these. There is 1 and 2 and I am missing one. There should have been 4. Is that right? Or is there only 3? No, there are only 3. All right, so 1 and 2, and then the third one, according to the pattern, you turn it sideways because this is the way that it'll be in the quilt. So if you noticed on the pattern on the front, the spools flip-flop back and forth. So they're straight up and down, and then they're side to side. So here you can see a flag block that is up and down, and here is one that's up and down, and then the third one way up here in the corner is done sideways. So that's why one of these blocks is set sideways. So all the other blocks, if you do them, sorry about that. So like this churn dash one, or the dash one, if you turn it the other way, it's still going to be the same. So those aren't a concern that had to be turned. But with the flag one, you wanted it to be oriented the other way. So just note that if you're working on this project as well. So then that was March. So only the flag blocks in March. There were only 3 blocks to do. In April we did the heart. No, we did the flower. And let me show you those. here is 1 and 2 and a third one and the fourth one. And you can see the brown print that I used on for this month. And then the second set of blocks were the flying geese ones. Now, I don't think I said, this pattern is available through the Fat Quarter shop. It's actually a pattern that was done by Holt. And so all of the pattern itself is called Sew Scrappy Spools. And so each block, she begins with sew and whatever the name of the block is. So these are called the Sew Geese block. So here's my brown one. So I use the same print, brown, I think that would be black, and gray. So I use the same print here, and then a different print for the easy corner triangles on those. And I did that same thing in each one of these blocks. So the middle print is the same, and then I did a coordinating print for the two stacked on top of each other. So that's the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. So 2 sets of blocks were done in April. Now for May, there was only 1 set of blocks to do, and there were 4 of them. And these are called the Sew Heart block. Let me show you what I did with these. So on the pattern, Lori has you pick 2 different reds for each one of the heart. This is a super simple block. So you have this piece, this rectangle here, and you do a big easy corner triangle on the bottom side, and then 2 smaller easy corner triangles on the top, and you do that twice. Now the thing you just have to be careful of is the large easy corner triangle on whatever blocks you're putting together. One has to be going this direction and one has to be going that direction. Now the 2 at the top, it doesn't matter because they're the same, but when you put it together, it makes it look like a heart. And here is the brown print that I chose for this month. And I did that one. Now I did different reds on each one of my hearts. Different combination. A couple of the reds are the same, but I did a different combination. So this was all solids. Well, this one is a little bit of a grunge print. But that one, the yellow and the other red are solids. This one is my favorite one. Of course, I love gingham. And so I have this red little print here, and then this is the same grunge print, and then with the green gingham. I just love that one. That one's my favorite. And then this one has a little bit more of a Christmassy feel with this red plaid, and then this was a red, almost like a toil type print. And then this is green, and it's hearts, but to me, for some reason, putting the green with the red makes me think of Christmas. So those are my 4 heart blocks. Now I mentioned that you'll see the same fabrics used over and over, and that's because I am pulling all of my fabrics from one of my scrappy bins. And this one, these are all, normally they're fat quarters or just a little bit more. I don't know if I'll use this one at all, not in this project, but maybe, I don't know. This one's obviously a little bit more than a fat quarter, but not enough of a whole yard that I would put it on one of my comic board books. And I actually have 3 of these bins in my sewing room. And I just pulled this one because I thought all the colors, it kind of had a rainbow of colors, but a coordinating muted prints, a few bright ones here and there. But I've just designated this basket as my Sew Scrappy Spools quilt along, and all of the fabrics that I'm using, I'm pulling from this one. So the brown prints, when I said I'm pulling a different brown print each month, I have, kind of junky here, but I had this set of different color browns in this basket, and so I'm using those browns for the spool tops. So far I've been able to use a different brown on each one of the spool tops. But I know pretty soon I'm going to have to use some others. I've got a couple more, and probably near the end I'm going to have to do more than one for a month because I'm just not going to have enough. But And if I get down and I don't have enough in here, I'll be able to pull from my rest of my stash. I'm just trying to use some of my leftover fabrics, and this was a good project to do it on. So that's my basket. So it is June already, which means I need to get started on the next one. Actually, with the calendar, this isn't the best printout, but they usually have it like, this says June 8th to start on the next set of blocks. And so I haven't looked at these, so usually it's like the second week of the month that you're doing these, but anytime during the month you can do them. The patchwork blocks, we only have one set of blocks coming up here in June, one set of blocks coming up in July. So you have a couple months that you have two kinds, a couple months that you only have one. Super easy quilt along to do and to keep up with, because it's only once a month and you're only making 4 blocks that are super easy. So the one thing that is constant in each block is the white print that I'm using on the edge. And this is a white, just a little tiny dots in it. This print is called Blossom. It's a Christopher Thompson print, and that's the one constant that I have, so that all of the background prints match. Everything else is scrappy. So month of May is done, and now I'll get started on June. So I will link all of the pattern. Actually, the pattern's the only thing I can link, and I can link the white fabric of Christopher Thompson's, but everything else is from my stash. And you could even do the white print from your stash. It wouldn't have to be a solid or the same one throughout the whole quilt along. You can make that scrappy as well. But a very fun quilt along, very easy to work with. So the other one that I've been working on is my Calico Garden, and this is also by Holt. This is an applique. This is 80–90% applique. A few pieced blocks. The garden blocks, these flower blocks all the way around, are pieced, and I am enjoying doing those. She's kind of spread those. She gave you the instructions to do those star flowers at the very beginning of the quilt along, and just says to work on them as you want to. And so I have 3 more of the pink ones of those done. And let me show you those. Now, not completely done, because there is a brown applique circle that goes in the middle, and I do not have that done on any one of these. And if you are looking very carefully, or if you're following along, I did switch 2 of these inadvertently. And I can't even remember which ones it was. No, I think what it was. So if you notice that I like this block, but it is a little bit dark. So I have a dark print here and like a medium print here. And then I have this third one where it's almost 2 light colors. I mean, this is a really white one, and you could say this is a medium. But I think what I did is this right here was supposed to have been on here, and this one was supposed to have been on here, so that it was more of a contrast. But in the end, it really doesn't matter. Nobody's going to be coming along and checking to make sure I use the right fabrics. It just, they got mixed up, and it's really fine. But if you are wanting to follow along the pattern, you will notice that those are a little different. But I have 3 of those done, so I just have the circles left to do. So let me show you my binder again. So this pattern, it's, Lori doesn't call it a pattern, she calls it her, what does she call it? It's terrible. Her sew along guide, there you go. And this is available on her website, on her blog, and I'll link it down below. But to make this quilt, you do need to buy the Sew Simple Shapes, and they come in a package. There are 88 of them. They come in a package that I have 3-hole punched and put back here. I only have the largest ones put in this envelope right here, or in this bag. And the rest of them I have all divided out into smaller baggies by their number. So I have all the 1 through 19 are all in one baggie, the 20s are all in one, just so that each time I need to find a fabric, I only have to go to that one baggie. The rest of these sleeves have all of the fabrics for the different blocks. So you can see some of them are empty. Wheelbarrow block is empty because I've already made that one. This one, vegetable block, I don't have that one finished. This one, tomatoes block, and the tulip block, there's only one set of things in there because I haven't done one of those yet. I think I haven't done the tomatoes block. I have done, I don't know, one of them. These are the fabrics that are left for some more of the Calico Star blocks that I need to make. So I'm getting down there. Probably have half of them done. So some of these are empty. Some of them still have a few fabrics in it because I do have a few more blocks to finish. But I'm getting so close. And so a lot of these are empty. And that's how I keep those. I'm kind of working backwards through the binder. I don't know why I did that. But at the front of the binder is where I put my the sew along guide. And in this does not have directions. It just gives you your cutting for each of the fabrics if you're using the actual kit that you can buy, and it shows you the fabric and how much to, or the size of pieces that you need to cut and for what block it is for. So when I cut these, then I put them in the appropriate envelope in the back, or the sleeve in the back. There are some, this shows you the Sew Simple shapes and how big to cut the interfacing. At this point, I am not referencing this, really, because I've been doing enough of this applique that I pull out the Sew Simple shapes. So on her blog each week, Lori will show you the block that we're working on, and she will give you the Sew Simple shapes that you need to pull out. And basically what I am doing is I am taking those Sew Simple shapes, I am putting it on my interfacing and tracing around it, and then when I cut, so I have a pretty big piece of interfacing. I may cut it, 6, 8 inches wide or whatever. And then I put the pieces down that I need, and I'm tracing around each one, and then I'm just cutting out a decent amount around the edges of that, but I'm just trying to fit as many on there as I can. So when you're first starting out, I would suggest that you cut your interfacing to the sizes that she lists for each of the pieces, just because it gives you a good idea of how much interfacing you need. Once you've been doing it for a while, I don't think you really need that part of the guide. This just shows how all the blocks go together, and the sizes. This gives you the different embroideries that you'll need to do for the different bugs or chicken legs and that kind of thing, and then also how to do the smoke that comes out of the chimney, and all of the kit. So that's the sew along guide. So there are no instructions on how the blocks go together. That's what you need to look at her guide for, or on her blog for each week, but it's totally free. So the only thing that you really need to buy are the Sew Simple shapes and then fabrics that you want to use. You can buy the whole kit, and which is what I did, or you can use ones from your stash, whatever you want. So this week I have worked on 3 different blocks, and I am working on these right here. So I have the seedlings block and the bluebird block, and then this is called a fruit basket block. So let me show you my progress on those. So here is the bluebird block. We've done another bird. We did a black bird that went on top of up here, on top of the watermelon, on top of the little garden shed here. There is one more brown bird. I have not made that one. But you notice that this bird is facing this direction, the blue one is facing this direction, and the brown one is facing this direction. So just make sure the same simple shape is used when you are creating these 3 different birds. Just make sure you trace it the right direction. Again, if you mess it up, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. So this is the way Lori made the quilt. Your birds could go a different direction. It really doesn't matter. But if you're wanting to do it exactly, then just be sure that you orient it to the right direction. So another interesting little tidbit is this beak. It's a very small piece, but it's really, I really like the way Lori did it. She has you sew a rectangle of this yellow print right next to the larger rectangle of the blue print, and then when you place your Sew Simple shape, you're just putting the edge of that beak right there on the seam between that yellow and the blue. So it's really simple to do. And the little legs, those are made from putting that yellow material through a bias tape maker. It's not cut on the bias, it's a straight bias, but that's a super simple way to make those tiny little shapes like that. So really cute. I like the blue with the lighter blue. They're really pretty. Every once in a while, here at our farmhouse, I will see, I'm looking out a window, that's why I look that direction. We'll see bluebirds. Bluebirds are not, or blue jays, I want to say. Bluebirds you see a little more often. Blue jays are kind of ones that like to be by themselves, so you don't see them up close to the house very often. And they kind of scare away other birds. But every once in a while we'll see a blue jay, and they are really, really pretty. The second block that I worked on was this seedlings block. And this is another one that is just so cute, these little round seedlings. And if you've ever grown plants from seeds, you know how this is it's so exactly true. Those first two, they call them dicots, is that what it's called? I don't know all my little plant lingo, but these are really cute. There's just the little brown, you could even, to me those aren't even the vases. Those are like when you buy seedlings at the store, when you pop them out of the little containers, then that's the dirt, the little packet of dirt that comes along with your seedling. So 4 of them. Each green is a different one, and again those stems right there are made with the bias tape maker. Each one. So really cute. And then the last one that I have finished this week is the fruit basket. And this is I've got this on a design board just because it's a little easier to keep it straight here. And the interesting part about this, I know early on in the sew along, somebody sent me a message and asking how this was made, and because they couldn't find the shape for it. And that is because this bottom part is actually pieced. So you have this smaller strip down here with some easy corner triangles and some other little pieces here and here. Then this one is a larger rectangle with easy corner triangles on either side, and then you have some extra pieces on either side of that. So this whole bottom part is pieced together. The top part, you'll notice I have the big background, and then the green behind it is actually a large triangle, and that was a Sew Simple shape. Let me show you that one. And that's one that I keep here in my binder because it is one of the large pieces that I keep here in the back. So this is the size of that green one. So you can notice these Sew Simple shapes, they are templates, and they're made from a heavy plastic, I can't remember the name of that, what that's called. So each time Lori creates a pattern that uses her Sew Simple shapes, the next set is all labeled. So all of these have an O and then a number behind them. And this one is the triangle, and this is what the green was done, and then it's put on the backing fabric, and then all of the fruit is done on the front of it. So that's one of the Sew Simple shapes. So that green is all behind here, which was a neat way to do that, so that you have that whole background of the green. And then these are all just simple circles and then the leaves. So do you see my mistake? I'm missing a leaf. I'm missing a leaf, and here he is. I had him cut, I had him ready. I even had him, when I laid this all out, I had it pinned on here, and I glue basted in certain spots around here. When it was all set, then I took it to the sewing machine, and I was working on the applique. I'd use monofilament thread for my applique, and I have a whole video about how I do that, and I'll link that below. I use monofilament thread so that I don't have to change colors of thread every time I go around. And I have had the question, what color do I use on the back? So let me just show you the back. I do not use monofilament on the back side. This is actually the white Aurifil that I normally do my piecing with. I just keep that in the bobbin when I'm doing my monofilament. And so when I had this under the sewing machine, and I'm just tooling along, and I am doing the applique, and when I found it, when I realized it was there, was missing, I had already done these 2 circles and the leaf I found on the floor. So I need your help. You tell me, should I unpick the threads that I have done, unpick those 2 circles, and tuck that green leaf underneath? You can see how it goes underneath these 2. Because I guess I could do it right there and not unpick those, but instead, I don't know, it would leave the white right there. Do you see that? It would leave a spot where all the others are tucked in behind the fruit and they're just sticking out from behind. So I need you to help me. In the comments, I want you to tell me whether I should unpick these or I should just leave it and my fruit basket has 1 less leaf. I don't know. I need your opinion on what I should do there. Am I gonna regret it if I don't go back and unpick it and stick that in there? Are others gonna notice? I don't know. I need your help with that. So another hint, when I was doing these, the fruits, I was trying to do as much of it as I could without breaking my thread. So I would start, like I know on this bottom section, I started here on the edge of one like this, and I went around and I did half the circle, like over the top, and then over the top, and then over the top, around that whole one, and then again and again and again around this one. Because they touch right there, you're able to do a lot of those together. Even on the leaves, what I would do is I would start like here. I would start on the pink circle right here, and I would stitch all the way around, and then when I got here, I would go around this leaf right here. Same thing with the red. I would start on a spot, and so instead of starting, you know, like right here in the middle of the backing, I would start right here on this little intersection where the red is overlapping the green. I would start right there. I would go around the red first, and then when I got back to this point, I would be able to go around the green. And at that point then, you know, I could go around the pink if I wanted. At some point then I would have to come back over here and do that. So just trying to group a couple different things together so I didn't have to stop and tie off that thread. After every single element, I was able to group some of them together and do that. All right, so another thing I want to show you is that on Lori's directions, when you finish this block, then she has you trim it up. And she has you trim up every block, every applique block. Because when you do the applique, whether you do it by hand or machine, it does kind of shrink in your fabric some. So instead of having you cut this to the exact size, then doing the applique and then everything not quite fitting correctly, she has you do all the applique first and then to trim down your blocks. For this block, this actually should measure 16.5 by 16.5. And Lori has developed a whole set of rulers that she calls her trim it rulers. Now, I do not have the whole set. A lot of the blocks will trim to this 8.5 inch size, and I did buy this one when I was doing the quilt along last year with the So Happy Place one. It was when I bought this one. The other 2 trim it rulers that I have, I actually bought because I do t-shirt quilts. So this is the 12.5 inch. And I know I talked about this when I talked about t-shirt quilts. I like these rulers when cutting out t-shirts because they give me a center spot. I'm trying to do it without the glare. They give me a center spot where I can, if I'm using a t-shirt quilt, then I can center the logo onto here, or underneath here is what I want to say. And then it already adds in the seam allowance that I need, and I can cut right there. I did t-shirt quilts for a long time just using my regular, you know, the 24 by 12 inch ruler, not 24 by 6 inch ruler or whatever it was that I had. And it could be done. I did it, but to center that design, this is so much easier because I can put that logo right here in the middle. I can see whether it's going to fit. I can adjust it. It's got all of these grid lines because a lot of times when you're doing t-shirts over time, those sayings, you know, depending on how you move a t-shirt even a little bit, those sayings aren't always straight. So with this type of ruler where I have the grid and the center markings, I can just make sure I'm cutting everything that, you know, if you have a picture here and then you've got the team name or something, I can make sure that that team name is straight when I'm cutting it out. But these rulers that can also be used when doing this sew along. So this block is to measure 16.5, and I do have the 16.5-inch ruler. Again, I did not buy this for this quilt along. I bought it because I was doing another t-shirt quilt that were t-shirts from like an extra large size, men's extra large size. And a lot of the designs, especially if you're using the back of a t-shirt, those designs, those logos, those pictures or whatever it is that's on the t-shirt are usually much larger, especially if you're using the back side and not something that's on the front. So that's why I have this ruler. But this one, so in the directions, Lori says that you should leave a 1/2 inch of space at the top where that fruit is. And then you are actually going to be trimming off some of the block down here. And that's why this ruler is so nice, this whole big trim it ruler. Now the side to side already measures 16.5. The bottom side of it, you can see where that's right up against that. And then I'm going to be trimming off all of this. The reason she had this part to be the actual size, at least left to right, was because there was no applique down here. So this did not get shrunk up. But this larger piece, she had you cut it a little bit bigger to line up this section with this section. You actually marked the middle of both of them, and that's how you knew you got it straight. But you can see that with this ruler, then I can place this over the top and I can just trim off the parts that I need. I can see that I'm centered right down the middle of that block. I can see left to right how much I have left on either side, just to make sure when I'm trimming it up that I have, you know, there I have 1.5 inches over here, yep, just a tad bit over 1.5 inches, so I can really make sure my design is in the middle, which it's a little harder to do with other rulers. So I really do like these trim it rulers. It does get expensive to buy every one, so pick and choose the ones that you want. But these three are the ones that I have, the 12.5-inch one, the 16.5-inch, and then I have 8.5. Actually, I do have the 2.5 one, the smaller one, and I honestly don't use that a whole lot. Because I'm not always trying to center things when I'm doing the 2.5. So I don't find that I use that trim it ruler as often as I just use my normal cutting ruler, you know, the 2.5. I don't even use a 2.5, to be honest, that much. I use for my regular cutting, my regular rotary cutting, I use the long 6-inch by 24, and I use a 6.5-inch square one. Those are the two that I use almost exclusively all the time. And but trim it rulers, it may be something you want to invest in. A lot of Lori's quilt-alongs, she has you trim them to certain sizes, and let me see if she even lists notions and supplies. Now she lists trim it rulers. She lists 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 12.5, 14.5, 16.5, 20.5. I'm not going to go out and buy all those. Not for one quilt along. I'm not. Over time, if I get them because I'm using them for other projects, then fine. But I'm really not going to go out and buy all of those for one quilt along. But those, she has those sizes, and I know there's a 2.5, and so just about every size that you would need. The other blocks that need to be squared up, I'll just use it with my other rulers. But this large one is really nice for doing this block here. So that's my updates on my Calico Garden quilt along, and almost done. Actually, I think I didn't look at her blog this week, but it may be the week of assembling, and so I am several weeks behind. I'm getting caught up, and but it's my quilt. I'll get it done when I get it done. You know, life happens, and but I am enjoying it. The springtime, the colors. I mean, here it's actually feels much like summer. We've had 80, 90-degree days. The air's been running for a while, but just the colors and the prettiness, and just the flowers and the everything. It's just a lot of fun to sew on. So and maybe something you want to do in the future. I know on Lori's blog, she keeps all of the past quilt-alongs up there. And so really, again, all you have to buy is the Sew Simple shapes and use your own fabrics, or buy a kit, or buy one of her lines and use fabrics from one of her lines. Any one of her lines would work for this one. It's not that you had to use this Calico line. I did for this one. Now, Lori did a whole video a week or so ago where she showed the new fabrics that she has coming out this year. And she has 2 more quilts. I was thinking that I was going to be done with the applique once I finish this. But now she has a house one that's appliqued. It's very tempting, very tempting. It's not coming out till late summer, fall, maybe September, something like that. There is another house quilt that she has that's the quilt seeds things that she's done, but these are all houses, and I will be doing that one. It's not a quilt along at this point, I don't think, and those packets are not available as of yet, but I will be doing that one because I love houses. I love houses in my cross stitch. I love houses in quilts. So I will be doing that one, and I still got to decide whether I'm doing the applique one. It is very tempting. It is so pretty, and I really, really like it. But so you might want to jump over and see her, I think she calls it her spring quilt market, virtual quilt market, where she's showing the fabrics and all of her plans for the rest of this year, even into, you know, winter time. They do it very early, and lots of fun stuff coming. There's always fun stuff coming. Not enough time in the day, is there? All right, so let's move on to some customer finishes. So I'm going to start with the one up at the top, and this is Sara's quilt. And so I will insert some pictures here so that you can see the whole quilt, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so Sara's quilt, this measures 47 by 54, and this pattern is called, let me find it here, this is called Falling Charms, and this is actually a free tutorial on Connie Kresin, Kresin, Connie Kresin's blog, and I will link that down below. She gives directions on how to do it on her blog, and I believe this is using a charm pack, and then adding the background fabric. This fabric line with the sun, so I'll get in here close, you can see the sun, and I believe all of the fruit, vegetable type prints, I think they're all in this same line. You can see the dark blue sun and the light blue sun. Some rainbow prints in there. I'm not sure that this star print is part of that. I think from what Sara told me that she found this as a border, but it goes really well with it. But the rest of that I think is all in the same line. And this, I should tell you what it is, shouldn't I? The sun prints and the vegetable prints are a fabric line by Abi Hall called Rainbow Garden. Really cute. And then Sara's background is that same sunflower print, the light blue one. Now, so the pantograph, I think it shows up a little bit better on the front than it does on the back. Pantograph is called Dave's Sunflowers, and I did not write down the designer of that, so I will put that in the description later. So if you are a long arm quilter and you're wanting to know where you can find that, I'll have that down below. But this is called Dave's Sunflowers, and so you can see the sunflower. This is a really fun print, fun to do. And when it stitches, you can see it does each one of the leaves like that. And then on the last one swirls out and goes on to the next one. So you can see how it finishes this one, and then it swirls out and then starts the next one. Very easy to nest together. And a nice one to stitch out. And it looked really good on this quilt. with the other sunflowers. So this is done in, did I write it down? This is done with a white thread. Because most of the background fabrics were white, even the base behind, you know, the print fabrics was white, I did a white thread. So you see a lot of texture on the white, and you can see it shine up on the blue part, but adds a lot of interest there as well. And then on the back, you can see the sunflower print there. So sunflowers and sunshine. It was a lot of fun. Really cute quilt. All right. So a few weeks ago, if you watched my video a couple weeks ago, I told you that I had some quilts ready, but I could not show them because they were for a baby shower that was coming up. And so I am going to insert a video here that I actually taped a couple weeks ago that shows you those quilts. And so you'll be able to see those, but that's why I'm dressed in something different. It's a different day, but I will insert that here so that you can see those 3 baby quilts, and they are really cute. And then I'll be back to show you these next 2. Is that not a cute quilt? So let me show you some details. This is a pattern. This is a pattern called Fox Among Birches. And it is put out by SewFreshQuilts. She has a shop on Etsy that you can purchase the pattern. Very tiny piecing. I like how the different color oranges showed some dimension to the fox. So you have that one that's kind of stealthily walking among the trees. And then you have this one that's just sitting and staring at you. Love the white end to his tail. And again, by using the different color oranges, it gives some dimension to the fox. I think it's just those 2. Let me look just to be sure. Yeah, just those 2 different blocks. And then when you put it in the rows with the birch fabric, all right, and this one you're still seeing the batting and the minky backing. Marsha had, she's gonna try to do one of the fold over minky bindings on this one, so she asked me not to trim the edges for her, so she's going to try to do the wider border on that. So gotta see the back. This gray minky is just adorable, so soft for a baby. You don't need to see the edge of it. Let me try to get the middle. This minky is so soft, just so soft. Now it is a striped minky, so you can kind of see the stripes in here. And then you can see we did, the pantograph is called Driftwood. This is a pattern by Longarm League, and you can purchase that on her website. If you are a member of the Longarm League, if you do long arming as a business, you can join the Longarm League, and once a month we get a free pantograph, and this was the free pantograph a couple months back. And so I used it on this. There are lots of different wood grain pantographs, and I interviewed a couple others. I like this one. This one is a little more subtle. Some of the others you have will come in and almost do, you know how when you have a swirl and it will go in on itself and then come back out. Some of the wood grain ones do that, where they'll, you know, a little more angular, but then they'll continue to come in and then echo back on themselves. This one just stitches out across. It's straight, not straight lines, but it's lines all the way across the quilt, and then you go back and do the other way again. And so some come a little closer, and then you leave these areas here, so it makes it feel more like a driftwood. And Marsha and I just decided that this was a little more softer feel than some of the others, especially for a baby quilt. Let me show it to you on the gray. So called driftwood. I have another pattern like this that's very similar that I use for water that would look more like a water print. But really cute. So this, Marsha's going to try that binding on there. And then let me insert a couple pictures of some grandparents' quilts that she made also. So when Marsha takes these to the baby shower, my understanding is the baby quilt goes to the mom and dad and the new baby, and then the two sets of grandparents on either side each get one of these quilts. So they're both a little different. I'm very, very similar. I think the only difference is obviously where the squares are put. I don't think she did that exactly the same on both of them. But the border around the panel, one is blue and one is orange. I like the colors of this one. And I want to show you the back, and then we'll talk about the front. So the back is a flannel, and it has these baby animals. You know, zoo animals, all of them. The colorway is the teals and the oranges. You got the grays in there as well. And the reason I wanted to show you the back is this front panel, this black panel, you could put any color prints with this. You could do pinks, you could do blues, you could do greens. This is a black panel, you could do anything. By choosing the back fabric first, then you can pull the colors from this that you would want to put on the front. And see how that coordinates really well? I like that. So you have this print that has all of these different colors on it, and then use that to pick your, you know, all your different colors here to go with the black panel. And then it's all perfectly coordinated. I think it's a great idea to start with the backing fabric first and then choose the others. And those could all even come from your stash. Those are just 2.5-inch squares. Then the pantograph. Pantograph is the diagonal plaid bias cut, meaning that the edges are rounded. I use this one a lot. This is a lot of fun. The reason I chose this pantograph, we were kind of going back and forth between some, and these little doodads there. That's kind of what made me decide to do the diagonal plaid. I thought they kind of looked the same. And I think it turned out really well. I used this is a light gray. I felt this blended better than a cream color with I didn't want to take away too much going over the top of those white letters. I just felt like the cream would be too stark. With the gray, it kind of blends in. You see it, but it's not overpowering. And then I used the gray on the back as well. So, you know, we've got some baby quilts where you've done cotton on the front and then the minky on the back. This is cotton material on the front with the flannel on the back. And it makes a nice quilt, a nice feel to it. Not too heavy, but very soft still. So this one has the teal border. Let me show you the other one. And the exact same thing, but this one has the dark orange border. And actually it may be, Looks very similar to the orange that was in the fox. I don't know, but just really, really cute. And what a great idea to give the two sets of grandparents the quilts too. I've not heard of that before, so that was a really cute idea. So those these are done, and they're going to go back to Marsha, but I will not be showing these. So if you're watching it now, it's been a few weeks since those went back, but I didn't want to show them too much early because I didn't want any surprises to be ruined on that. So those are already taken care of. So those quilts were a lot of fun. Marsha did a really good job on the fox quilt with the minky, and then the grandparents' quilts. Those were so cute. So now let me insert a picture of the first of two quilts I have from Lisa. And this first one is called Twinkle 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 Scrappy Star. And this is a pattern by Julie Hirt. And let me insert a big picture, and then we'll talk about the pattern. All right, Lisa made this quilt from this Julie Hirt book called Scrappiness is Happiness. I've shown this on some other videos. This is such a fun book, very thick, spiral bound book, so it lays flat. This is all the blocks that Lori shows on her YouTube video, and then this is how to make each one, and then how to put them together into quilts. And so the one that Lisa has made is called the Twinkle Twinkle Scrappy Star. And let me show you that in here. So here is Lori's version. And so you're using one block, and then the one block is repeated throughout the entire quilt. And just a really cute quilt. Here is the layout. So every block is the same, no sashing required. It's just one block. So on Lisa's quilt, she used Julie Hirt's pattern, but this time, instead of using Julie Hirt fabric, she actually used Cora Yoder's fabric line called Sunwashed. And really cute. Pinks and blues and yellows, and then the lime green color, a couple of darker melon colors, and the darker blues with the yellows. So a very pretty quilt. And then the background fabric is a white, but it has some little starburst gray or very light blue starburst color, almost like twinkle stars and things. I don't know if that's part of Corey's line or not. But a very pretty, very pleasant quilt. Very soft and just feels good, just very soothing, I guess I want to say. So the pantograph that we chose is, this is called Paper Blooms, and this is a pattern by Julie Hirt, and Julie has an Etsy site. You can purchase this on her site. Julie is a very modern pantograph designer, and so this, and in talking with Lisa, this is, I've done some other quilts for Lisa before, and when we were talking about designs for this one, she says, I have decided that I really like the dense designs. And so we auditioned several for this one, and I showed her some of Julie's designs, and she went with this one, and it's really cute. So Paper Blooms, and you'll see you have two different kinds of blocks. You have like this flower one here, and then a circle one here. And I offset the lines, the rows, I want to say, so that in each one we have alternating. The flowers aren't on top of each other. You could do it that way if you wanted to, where all the flowers were on top of each other and all the circles. But I alternated it so that we had, in the row below, above and below, we've got the alternating block or design, I want to say. So the flower one here, and then the circle one here. let me show you the back of this one. So this quilt measures, let me see, 72 by 88. So it's a nice twin size quilt, and look at this backing fabric. This is actually a Kimberbell. This is from Studio E, and it's a 108-inch wide backing, and this is just the perfect backing for this. So that same lime green print from the front, not same print, it's the same color as some of the lime colors, but not the same design. And I really thought that the pantograph that Lisa chose really complemented this, because we have some of these circle things here, even here, they're little, there, can you see that? Just, it really complemented the pantograph. And I did this in a white color, because the white thread, because the front of this one was, you know, the background is the white fabric. So for the texture to show on that without overpowering it, we just did a white. On the back, the thread is white, but because you have so much of that, the other design, you have the green backing in the background and the white on top, and so the white pantograph just fits right in with that, the design there. Oh, really, really cute. Really like this one. Very soothing, I mean, just feels, the feel of the quilt. Not, I don't want to mean by the touching it, I just mean by the soothingness of it, and just a very tranquil and pleasant quilt. Very pleasant. All right, so I have another one by Lisa, and that's this one down here. So let me insert some larger pictures so that you can see the whole quilt laid out, and then we'll talk about that one. So Lisa's second quilt, this pattern is called Home Again, and this is also a Lori Holt pattern, and this is a single pattern that she published, and it is available on the Fat Quarter Shop. I will link that down below. And Lisa chose all Lori Holt fabrics as well. So the yellow print that you see is the Flea Market Daisy Floral, and it's a large floral print, and then she has paired that with the Flea Market Sea Glass basket weave, this the teal color. Really cute. So this is the same block over and over, and the same fabrics over and over. Now you could do this one scrappy and it would be really pretty, but it is very striking having every block the same. Where the Twinkle Twinkle Scrappy Star, very soothing quilt, all done with, you could do that with scraps as well. But with one fabric line, it coordinates well. But you can get, quilts are so fun because we can use the same fabrics. I mean, this is just 3 different fabrics. You have the background fabric, you have this, the yellow print, and then the sea glass print. Very striking. So every block is the same. Those blocks are probably, they're big blocks. Probably a 20-inch block. I don't know for sure, but very big blocks. And then you've got the sashing in between, the yellow cornerstones that ties in with this block, and then a big white border around the edge. The background fabric and the border fabric, this is also a Lori Holt print. Let me see, bee background teal daisy. So it has the daisies, little daisies in there, and it's the same sea glass teal color. It coordinates with it. Let me show you the backing, and then we'll talk about the pantograph. I love, oh, of course you guys know me. If you've been following very long, I love ginghams. And this one is, this is a bee gingham, so it's also by Lori Holt. And this is a 108-inch wide backing, so very easy to work with. The colors match perfectly with the front. Very well coordinated. I like that it is, it's done on the bias. So, you know, you could do a gingham that way, you know, where you have it straight up and down, horizontal and vertical. This is done on the bias, which I think for a backing is really, really cute. I can't wait to see what binding fabric Lisa puts on this. All right, let's talk about the pantograph. So this quilt kind of gave me a feeling of a vintage quilt. Just the colors, the large floral print kind of made me think vintage. And so I wanted to do something that was modern in that it was dense, because Lisa said she likes that look, but a hint towards vintage. And so I found this, this is called Clamshell Duchess. It kind of reminds me of Baptist fans, and that we have this over and over and over, but with that neat clamshell design inside. I think it's just classy, but vintagey as well. This is very dense, took a lot of thread to do this. This took a great amount of time to long arm, because just there is a lot of back stitching, because you're coming in, you're coming back over and over and over. There's just a lot of places where you're going over your thread. So especially down here at the bottom part of the clamshells, it's pretty thick with thread right there. But I just think this effect is just beautiful. Really, really nice. I really like that. This is the first time I've used this design, but it won't be the last. Won't be the last. It is just really, really cute. And this is a white thread. Used a lot of white this week. Because the background fabric is white, you know, this is white. The feel of the quilt, the tone of the quilt, I want to say, I keep saying feel, but the tone of the quilt is a lighter feel to it. So the white thread looks really good on there. I just love this. One of these times I'm just going to have to keep Lisa's quilts. I just love her quilts. She does such a nice job. Very, very nice. And this quilt measures 74 by 94. So again, a very large quilt. Be great for a twin size bed with overhang on it. It should be really nice. So those are my quilts for this week. I hope you've enjoyed being here with me. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, and I would direct you down below into the footnotes down at the bottom, the show notes, whatever you call them, the description down below, I will have a link there that will take you to a long arm prep and quilt order form. And on there it gives you all the directions on how to get a quilt to me, how to prep your quilt, the size of the backing, batting if you're sending that. If not, I do have batting available. I have both 80/20 Quilter's Dream. I also have Quilter's Dream 100% cotton. These two big quilts that I just did for Lisa, we used 80/20 batting on those. I have both available, so whichever one your choice is. But in those directions, it gives you all the information, how to get your quilt to me, and then a place for you to fill out, tell me all about your quilt, the type of design you're looking for, or we can talk about that once I receive it. And all of that is linked down below in a PDF. So I would love to work on your quilt for you if you have one ready. So have a great week, and we will see you back here next week.